Some of our most impactful plays go far beyond the court or field. This is the Net to Net Live Show.
It's more than just a game.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Net to Net Live Show. Unfortunately, our other co-host, Monte, is not here yet. You know, the Toronto transit system is not exactly known for being the most reliable. So we had some issues, but he'll be here very, very soon. We have a lot to get through today. There was a lot that happened over the weekend. We finally have the NBA season back. I can't wait to talk about that. El Clásico, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. We also had a couple of big games with Arsenal versus Liverpool. Another potential title deciding game. Of course, it's still early in the season, but these games matter and they do add up. And then finally, this is not just my bias talking because I'm a Manchester United fan, but we do have to talk about Manchester United versus West Ham, mainly because of the implications it had on Manchester United's future with Erik ten Hag being fired from his job following that game. So let's get started. El Clásico. I'm sure a lot of you watched it. One of the biggest sporting events of the year, every year. It's crazy how much a regular season game matters to fans. And this game was really, really good. Both teams had a lot of chances. Granted, a lot of Real's chances were offside because of that amazing high line that Hansi Flick has implemented in the Barca system. But it was unexpected. This was an unexpected win for Barcelona, let's be honest. Real Madrid were big winners in Europe throughout the week. They beat Dortmund after going 2 goals down. So there was a big comeback. You know, momentum was in their favor. They were doing amazing in the league, unbeaten. And unbeaten for 42 games or 43 games. Basically, they were about to beat Barcelona's record of the most unbeaten games in La Liga. But Barcelona put an end to that by winning 4-0. A massive win by them. Not only was this unexpected, it was just unprecedented because Barcelona the past few years, they have been a bit of a joke. They were better last year, but overall, with the financial issues, they've been a mockery of a football club. So they were able to pull out the win here. And yeah, it was a good first half. It was a good competitive first half. Mbappe had a goal ruled out for offside. Vinicius missed a huge chance. And we'll get on to Vinicius in a second. And the whole Ballon d'Or snub or deserved to go to Rodri. We'll see. But yeah, so Mbappe failed to finish. And Lewandowski should have had 4 in this game, at least. He only had 2. He scored 2 in quick succession. The first was a nice finish in the bottom right corner, and then the second one was a neatly, accurately finished header. So 2 good goals by him. And then Rafinha. He's been on fire this season. Ever since the Nico Williams rumors, with him seeing his jersey number swapped with others, he took that as disrespect. And, well, he delivered. What can I say? He did deliver. It's been an amazing start to the season for him. And what does this mean for the title race? It's still early days. We can't call anything yet. But what does this mean for Real Madrid's momentum? Because this is really important going into Europe. Of course, they've been an incredible team so far this season. But the cracks have been there. Going 2-0 down to Dortmund in the first place, yes, they were able to make a pretty big comeback, but you don't ever want to go down by that many goals to Dortmund, who have not been the best European side or best even domestic side recently. They've had a rough time. But yeah, we saw at the game that Vinicius gestured that, yeah, you guys won now, but wait until Monday, I'll win the Ballon d'Or. And then Monday morning, it was reported that Vinicius Jr. will not be traveling to the Ballon d'Or ceremony, nor will any Real Madrid players, not even the manager. So I guess this was their way of saying Vinicius deserved the Ballon d'Or. We feel like it was given unjustly, but it's just not good sportsmanship at all. Like, come on. Yes, Rodri won it. It could be argued. It could be argued who really deserved it, but at the end of the day, you show up, you know, you pay your respects. Last year, Haaland missed out to Messi. I'm sorry, Messi did not deserve the Ballon d'Or last year. He's my favorite player. Not my favorite. He's the best player. I can acknowledge that he's the best player who's played the sport in my eyes. But he didn't deserve it last year. Playing in the MLS, yeah, he won international trophies, but Haaland just had the better year. And I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan. Vinicius refused to show up, refused to congratulate Rodri, and it's just really poor sportsmanship. You really don't like to see that. We have our co-host here. He just arrived, so we'll get into the meat and potatoes of our program soon. Welcome, Monte. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you, Haig?
I'm good. I am... Sorry, just getting the cameras fixed over there. How was your your commute here?
It was horrible. Rainy. Delays. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
That's okay. You're here now. I'm excited to get into today's content, as I was just telling them. We have a lot to discuss. I think I pretty much covered El Clásico. We're pretty much done with that. Is there anything you want to add on to that?
In terms of El Clásico, I know I just arrived, but it's absolutely humiliating for Real Madrid. Nobody expected them to lose, let alone lose in the fashion that they did. It's humiliating for their fans, especially at home. Hansi Flick, the manager of Barcelona, just completely outclassed Real Madrid in terms of their tactics. And honestly, I don't know, Real Madrid, how do they regroup from this? I'm not sure. But they have a lot to prove with their upcoming matchups. It's the 3 tough matchups. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but they certainly have to regroup.
Yeah, especially AC Milan in the Champions League. That'll be an interesting one to see how they bounce back from this loss to Barcelona. Sorry to just throw you into the fire. Like, you just arrived. I should have given you a moment to catch your breath. But yeah, we can move on to the second game. We could just touch on this briefly. We don't have to spend too much time on Liverpool versus Arsenal because we spent a good amount of time talking about Liverpool last week. But yeah, it was a 2-2 draw. They shared the points. And, well, I mean, at the end of the day, Manchester City are winners because Liverpool and Arsenal drop points. Man City have a better chance at the title. What did you make of that?
I'm going to say this. Saka, congrats to him. He just marked his 50th Premier League goal for Arsenal, which is the youngest player to reach that milestone for his club, so congratulations to him. But one thing I will say is that Arsenal, if they want a chance to not bottle the league again like they did last year, they can't be giving out draws. They have to prove themselves as a contender one way or another, and dropping a game like this one, it was just heartbreaking to see for them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have a lot of friends who are Arsenal fans, and I'm sure they were all pretty upset with this. And so we saw a common theme in this game with injuries. Both managers talked about injuries. Arteta was complaining about them more. He was saying, "Yeah, I take pride in my team's performance in spite of the injuries, because in this game we saw Gabriel and Jurgen Timber get injured, and they had Odegaard and Calafiori out with injuries as well before the game. But injuries are a part of the game, and you didn't really see Liverpool complaining about it. They have even more injuries than Arsenal leading into the game. They had their starting goalkeeper, Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He was out. They had to use a backup. Their summer signing, Chiesa, has been out. Diogo Jota, one of their prime strikers, has been out. So injuries are a part of the game. And I just like to see teams just complain about it less, especially when your opponent isn't using them as an excuse for why they got a draw.
All right, on to our next topic. I know you probably have a lot to say about this one. It's a Manchester United topic. Manchester United have now fired Erik ten Hag. They are now 14th place in the league. It felt like a change that was almost inevitable at this point. And now the current interim head coach of United that will be taking over, pardon me if I mess up his name, but it's Ruud van Nistelrooy. If I said that wrong, I'm not sure. But what do you take away from that? Was it a change that you think had to be made? Do you think it was too soon? Do you think he should have had a little bit more time to develop something? It almost feels like in every sport now where coaching changes is the first thing that teams will look towards rather than the players.
I don't think it was too soon. I think, if anything, it was too late. He wasn't given too much time. That's not what I'm saying. It just, the timing of it was not right. If this decision was going to be made, it should have been made in the summer, so the new coach has time to bring in the players that he wants. He has time to implement his system in the offseason. Now we're, 14 games into the season, and now you fire him. And they had to pay a big, I think around 14 million to terminate his contract. So he got a firing bonus. And it just, yeah, and Ruud van Nistelrooy, former Manchester United striker, he was Ten Hag's assistant, so now he'll be taking over. But Manchester United have been in talks since the firing with Ruben Amorim, the current Sporting manager. And we've had some success signing people from Sporting, Bruno Fernandes came from Sporting. He's been one of our best signings in the past few years. Ruben Amorim just missed him. I think he started at Sporting around 3 months after Bruno Fernandes was sold. But yeah, with Erik ten Hag leaving, Manchester United will be hoping to, the new manager bounce. That always happens in soccer. You fire your coach, you get a new manager, and the next few games, the players have like adrenaline. They're excited for a new thing, a new change. Hopefully, they can carry that momentum into their next few matchups against Leicester City in the Cup, and then they have Chelsea in the league, which will be a tough match because Chelsea have been a great team, a great team this season. But I just want to touch on, just reflect on Ten Hag's seasons, because this year he had a terrible start. He's only won 4 of his 14 games, a terrible win percentage so far this season. And he brought in quite a lot of players over the summer. Manuel Ugarte, Mazraoui, who's been actually one of our best players, and then Joshua Zirkzee, Lenny Yoro, Matthias de Ligt. Luckily, he didn't have a chance to ruin Lenny Yoro yet, because he was a big signing from France, and he got immediately injured. So he didn't really play under Ten Hag. We'll see how the new manager deals with him. But looking at these names that he signed, who stands out to you as being the most disappointing? Because there has been a lot of talk about Antony.
The most disappointing signing, I was actually going to say Antony, just considering the contract that he received. Usually when you're paid the biggest bucks, you're expecting to give back the biggest value. When you're coming in, especially to a prestigious franchise like Manchester United, you're expected to score, you're expected to capitalize, help win games. Antony, he's been criticized of that a lot in his tenure at Manchester United, not being able to score, not being able to capitalize. So in terms of that, with his contract value valued at around 85 million euros, it's been a huge underwhelming. I do like the Rasmus Højlund signing. That, I think, was a great bargain value contract, and we touched upon this in the last episode where he could be a legitimate building block for Manchester United's future. But just one last question about that. Usually when a coach gets fired and they bring in some sort of interim to replace him, you know a little bit about that interim. For example, I know we don't talk about it much, but in the NFL, Robert Saleh gets fired, but you know who his interim coach might be. What do you think the new manager is going to bring? Do you know anything about him that he could bring to Manchester United?
So the new manager we're looking to hire, I know a lot about him, the Ruben Amorim that I talked about. Ruud van Nistelrooy, I don't know too much about. He had some coaching opportunities in Netherlands where he did pretty well. But I'm more excited. The interim is always just 1 or 2 games. They don't really last. All he did. But, Michael Carrick was an interim for us last time a coach got fired. He was undefeated in 3 games, but then they replaced him with Ralph Ragnick. That was a disaster, but we don't talk about that hiring. And Ruben Amorim, he does have a system. He prefers a 3 at the back system, which will be interesting to see how United's players fit in with that. But I'm excited. I'm excited for United's future. I'm excited to watch Manchester United again, and I haven't been able to say that yet this season. So yeah, maybe it's a bit of an overreaction by me, but I'm glad he's gone. Now, speaking of overreactions, the NBA season is underway. We've been waiting. We've been waiting for basketball to come back. Basketball is well and truly back. It's been an exciting week. Yeah, it's been exactly 1 week since the season started.
So many different close games, and it's only the first week, like you said. I'm so excited for this season. One thing I just want to say quickly, the worst part of being a sports fan is that off-season period between every sports where it's just like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm an NBA and an NFL fan, so that period after June until October is like absolutely horrendous for me.
No, I can imagine like trying to buy into preseason, trying to look at summer league and be excited about some prospects. You're just grasping at straws for anything that's basketball content. But what have been some of your takeaways from the season? Give me one hot take so far, 1 weekend.
Okay, I know it's very early, and I hate to say this as a Celtics fan, but I genuinely have to give my props to the Lakers, and especially my guy JJ Redick. Okay, he is looking like a Coach of the Year favorite already alongside Missoula, and what's crazy is JJ Redick got a lot of backlash this offseason, a guy who has had no coaching experience unless you want to count his fourth grade son's basketball team, but everyone was saying, oh, he's just a media personality. He was only hired because of nepotism, that he was LeBron's podcast partner. He's had no coaching experience before, but he silenced those critics and then some. Usually when a coach is going to come into that type of situation, especially the hell that the Los Angeles Lakers were in last season, it's very cliche when a coach comes in and says, I'm going to change the identity, I'm going to change the culture. But JJ Redick has genuinely done that. Some of the biggest things that he's changed is, firstly, I'm going to start with on the court. He's allowing Anthony Davis to really embrace that 1A role and be the hub of the team, both on defense. Obviously, we know he's an all-world defender, one of the best interior presences, but offensively too. In recent years, we've seen that LeBron is taking the reins, and credit to his longevity, but Anthony Davis this season, he's being involved in every single action, whether he's bringing up the ball or he's getting down in the low block. He's shooting a lot more threes this year. He's getting involved in screening actions. Anthony Davis is looking like a legitimate MVP candidate under JJ Redick, and that was one of the biggest things he talked about.
And go ahead. And I would say that's a lot of testament to LeBron as well, because we see a lot of like superstars. LeBron has been a superstar in this league for so many years, but we would see a lot of superstars who would be hesitant to give up the reins and be like, here, this is your team. I know this is our way to win. And it looks like LeBron has been doing that. Like just last night, LeBron was about to lose his streak of scoring double digits in a game. And of course, they did lose yesterday's game, but it was a close game, and that was largely down to Anthony Davis's impact. And I just want to give credit to LeBron for being willing to give up the reins to AD.
LeBron is one of the most humble, one of the most selfless players that we've seen in a long time. The numbers speak for themselves. The accolades speak for themselves. But that was actually one of the next points I wanted to touch upon. What JJ Redick is doing is he's using LeBron more off-ball, which we really haven't seen at any point of his career. Now JJ Redick is allowing him to kind of map the court himself. He wants to be able to create his own shots and find ways to get into space and get into screening actions, and it just completely throws off a defense when LeBron isn't the one holding the ball. You have to scheme completely differently. So credit to JJ Redick there. And one last thing I'll say is they just look like a team with life, a team with culture. Like JJ Redick talked about improving the margins, and that's such a huge thing in basketball. The Lakers are putting in so much more effort on the glass. They're getting to the line more than they were last year, which is surprising because I shot a lot of free throws last year, but they're cutting down the turnovers. Everyone's moving off ball, shooting a lot more threes. JJ Redick is the real deal, and I was trying to say this in the offseason. When you have a basketball sicko like him, a guy that knows the game as much as him and seen the game evolve as a media personality. I don't know how people could just fade that. So that's my biggest overreaction in week 1. But what about you? You tell me.
Okay. Talk about overreaction. It's only been a couple of games. And this is a massive switch up from what I was saying last week. Last week, I had them as a dark horse for a championship contender. This week, I'm saying they won't be a top 6 seed. They will be a play-in team, and I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Ooh.
I don't believe in them. It's just not good. You're getting so much. It's not like your star players aren't performing. You're like, oh, my stars are in a slump. We'll pick it back up. Your players have been amazing. Giannis has been killing it. 30-plus points on every game except for one so far. Dame was phenomenal last night. They lost to your Celtics, of course. But yeah, they just have they won a game yet? Or
the Bucks are like 1-3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so they lost to the Nets. How do you do that? They're tanking for Cooper Flag. They obviously lost to the Celtics yesterday, and I'm forgetting the other team, but
yeah, they are 1-3, and it just you talked about it last time. You talked about how much coaching can impact it, and obviously the firing of their coach Griffin last year was a surprise, and they were much better with him than they have been with Doc Rivers so far. I just don't know what to make of them. I don't know where they go from here, how they can improve it. We saw Giannis talking about trade rumors during that offseason. Is that something that's in the horizon for the Bucks? It's only been 4 games, I know, but I talked about them not being a top 6 seed, and I do believe that. The Celtics are going to be better. The Cavs are 4-0 start. It's a phenomenal start. We'll get onto them in a second. Who else is up there? The Knicks are going to be up there. The Sixers, once Embiid and Paul George come back, I believe they'll be better than the Bucks. We have the Heat. When Jimmy Butler turns up, he turns up. And I believe the Magic as well.
The Magic are so sneaky
Paulo's
this year. Yeah.
Paulo's performance last night, what was that, 50 Ps?
50 Ps, 37 in the first half.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how good the East is and how bad the Bucks have looked.
Yeah, the Bucks are a team with perennial championship contenders. That means every year they're expected to be at the summit top of the East and be the team to be right up there in the Eastern Conference Finals, and obviously they're fairly recent champions. But one thing I want to talk about with the Bucks is the value of depth in today's NBA. What's something that you've seen in some of the best recent champions? I know your Raptors, they had one of the best benches, the most well-constructed rosters of all time. The Celtics last year, all their bench guys stepped up in the finals. The Bucks this year, like you said, Giannis and Dame are not the issue. They're finally gelling together. They're each putting up 30 a game. They're shooting efficiently. But where are the role players? Brook Lopez has fell off the face of earth. Chris Middleton's injury concerns are starting to become really legit, and they need him if they have any chance of winning. And all these bench guys that they have are just young, unproven guys with just pure raw talent that you can't really put into a concrete playoff rotation. Like Taurean Prince, he has his moments.
He had 3 points last night, so
I know that was Darvin Ham's doing to bring him over there.
Definitely was. Darvin Ham loved playing him on the Lakers.
For whatever reason. But Marjon Beauchamp, Ajax, all these guys, they're just not contributing enough. And for that reason, combined with, their health concerns, the Bucks are... I think they're cooked.
The Bucks might be cooked. But let's get on to another team I heard you think might be cooked. How do you feel about the Nuggets this season so far? Obviously, they managed to pull out a win against the tanking Raptors, as said by Pirtle. But what do you think about them? How have they looked?
The Nuggets have looked horrible. For a team that's 2 years off of a championship, and when you have, 3-time MVP, and 2 legitimate stars to build around, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, you have championship expectations night in and night out. You cannot start off the season 0-2 losing to the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard and then just barely beating the Raptors, who are tanking for Cooper Flag this year. By the way, that was impressive for the Raptors to be able to compete with them like that. But again, I just talked about it with the Bucks, the value of depth. I personally underestimated the value of KCP, Bruce Brown, and all these role players that were such big factors of that championship run. And now, as much as I love Westbrook, he's been hurting the team badly. Aaron Gordon, he just got a massive payday and he's been stinking it up. There's Jamal Murray's consistency issues this season. I mean, in the playoffs, he's a different breed, but at this rate, I can't take the Nuggets as a serious playoff contender. Jokic is the only one that's out there showing any heart.
Yeah, they needed a 40-point performance from him to barely beat the Raptors in overtime yesterday. And Jamal Murray is just, when Jokic isn't on the court, like he looks lost. Like, what is he supposed to do? He's getting locked up. He has no one else to bail him out. And that hurts me as a Canadian. Of course, I love Jamal Murray. Of course, I want him to do well. He's been one of our brightest players, but just a rough start for the Nuggets. And the main issue is, where do they go from here after giving Aaron Gordon that contract? Financially, they have MPJ. Yeah, MPJ is on a max. Jamal Murray, Jokic, Aaron Gordon. There's no money left for anyone else. You're going to have to trade someone if you want to mix something up. It's probably going to be MPJ, but also he's a 6'10 sharpshooter, so how many of those can you find around? It's just difficult to see. Of course, they can improve. They've only played 3 games. They're 1-2. Next week could come and they could have won all their games in this week, and we'll be talking about that differently. It's been a slow start to the season, but these are overreactions. It's the first week of the season. We have a small sample size. This is all we can go off of. But they have not looked good. They need Jokic to have another MVP caliber season if they want to compete. They'll make the playoffs, obviously, but if they want to compete and be a championship contender, they need Jokic to be what he's been doing, and they need the others to step up. That's the most important thing.
And think about the fact that they're in the Western Conference. This isn't the Eastern Conference where you can have a 14-game gap between teams and you can sneak into the playoffs. One game in the Western Conference can literally decide your fate. That was the case last year, where the Kings were a play-in team, but they were 1 win out from like the 6th seed. The Nuggets need to figure it out fast. I don't know if they're just going to force feed Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic for the whole game. I don't know if they're going to, like you said, trade one of their bigger name role players to be able to free up cap space and improve their role players. They've got to figure it out fast. But again, like you said, it's overreactions to the early season. And I want to hear one more from you. You just talked about it. The Cleveland Cavaliers with a 4-0 start to the season. Why are you so high on them early on, and deservedly so?
I mean, it's just they're young. They're still relatively young. They're such a good team. Evan Mobley has looked like a monster this season so far. Jared Allen is playing his role phenomenally. Donovan Mitchell is going to be Donovan Mitchell. He's going to give you points. He's going to be a facilitator for you. And Darius Garland looks like he's having a bounce-back season after having a bit of a down season last year. He had 30-plus last night. He's leading the team in assists. He just looked amazing, and the team is clicking. They're getting bench production as well. You know, Karis LeVert. If I'm not mistaken, Ty Jerome had a couple of games for them. So, just all around, they're playing really well. And I don't think I mentioned them in the 6 teams I was saying would be I did mention them. I did. But yeah, they'll be a top seed if they keep going like this. And they had a managerial change as well in the offseason, and that's going to help them. I think we're seeing a big side effect of that.
Yeah, they brought in Kenny Atkinson this season. He most recently served as the assistant for the Golden State Warriors, but he was a former head coach in the NBA. A lot of people
The Nets.
The Nets. And it was that team that were the Cinderella darlings of the NBA, even though they were a little off in terms of their record, the vibes, the culture. You were seeing legitimate transcendence from some of their younger guys. It was Jared Allen.
That was Jared Allen. That was Jared Dudley beefing with Ben Simmons, if you remember in that playoff series. D'Lo's All-Star season, All-Star D'Lo. But yeah, Kenny Atkinson, as you were saying. He's exciting. He was good at nurturing young talent with the Nets, and now he inherits one of the most talented young teams probably behind OKC. And it's exciting to see where he'll go with them, where he can take them. Because if you took that pretty awful Nets team to the playoffs, he can take this Cavs team to the conference finals at least.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that they prioritized was obviously allowing Donovan Mitchell to be Donovan Mitchell, but they wanted to see that breakout from Evan Mobley in the offensive side of the ball. And we've seen that this season. This season, it almost feels like a lock nowadays that he's going to get 15 plus points, when last season it was a debate if he was even going to get like 7 points. So Kenny Atkinson has completely changed the ceiling of Evan Mobley, which you expected to see, especially because he was compared to guys like Scotty Barnes and Franz Wagner and all these guys in his draft class. And Darius Garland, he's allowing him to be Darius Garland, playing with more pace, facilitating, running the offense 1A, 1B with Donovan Mitchell instead of just, playing second fiddle to him. Kenny Atkinson has completely changed the team, and he's hired a great staff too. They got Johnny Bryant from the Knicks, who was their assistant head coach last year, who ran the offense, and the Knicks were one of the best offenses last year. They got Jordan Ott from the Lakers, one of the best defensive minds. So that staff is completely changing the culture. All these guys are buying in, and the Cavs are scary, man. Last year, they gave the Celtics a hell of a fight, even though the final result of the round didn't say much, but the Cavs are legit this year. There is no overreaction about that.
I'm glad you're confident in your pick. Let me just get a homer pick in there real quick. My Raptors, I'll be quick. They're obviously not contenders or anything. They'll probably not make the playoffs. The second half of the season, I'm sure we'll see them sit some players, lose some games, but they've been so fun to watch. I got my fun back because the end of last season, I didn't want to watch any Raptors games. End of last season, we were losing. I knew we were losing, but it was just such a bad watch. But this season, we have so many young players. Jamal Shed, he's looked amazing. He looks like a real NBA player. Jonathan Mokbo, he's never going to give you like 20 plus points, but he's going to get your rebounds. He's going to hustle out there.
This guy's going to ruin your parlays.
There's no way you bet on Jonathan Mokbo.
No, this guy, I bet on Sixers money line. I never heard of him in my life. And he has a career legacy game, but now I know his name.
Now you know. Now you'll remember. And Scotty, he had a rough start to the season, his first game, but he bounced back. Just last night, he was one assist off of a triple-double. 21 points. RJ was back yesterday. He got 20 points. And this is a Raptors team that has been fighting in every game. Even against the Timberwolves, they were down by 25 at some point, and they came back and made it a close finish. And it's just exciting to see. It's exciting to see us in games. These tight games are going to make the young players. They're going to make the young players better. It's going to be a good competitive thing. And we don't even have our full squad yet. We're missing Kelly Olynyk, who's a good backup, a very good backup. We had Bruce Brown. We talked about how important he was with the Nuggets. He was underwhelming with the Raptors last season, but he's a great player still. There's a lot of value in him. He can give you a lot on the court. And quickly as well has only played one game so far. So we haven't seen our big three play yet. Scotty, RJ, quickly. And then we have Grady Dick as well. Let me just touch on Dick real quick.
Wow.
That's crazy, but he's so much more than just a shooter. When he came in, everyone's like, oh, just another white shooter. But just cutting, he's a great cutter. His layup package is low-key nasty. Like, he has some finishes where I don't know how he floats there so long. He had some crazy reverse layups a couple of games back. He's been great. I just wanted to get my Raptors piece in there. We can move on from that. But, yeah.
Just one last thing to touch upon that, and it was such a good point that you brought up. When you're a tanking team, the worst... Actually, let me say this. Let me backtrack a little bit. The worst place to be in sports is no man's land. You either want to be a contender or you want to be a tanking team. The conversations around the Raptors the last few years have just been, they're a no man's land team. Like, they're not bad enough to tank, but they're not good enough to contend. And I think they made the complete right decision last year to kind of have like a mini fire sale, but still get some valuable assets in return for their future. They obviously let Siakam go to the Pacers, OG Anunoby to the Knicks, but they were able to get legitimate value back, and that's why it's going to contribute to such an exciting future for Raptors and their fan base. Quickly is legit. Scotty Barnes, I mean, we know he's been legit since his rookie year. All these role players that are stepping up, I guess that's a testament to the coaching staff, because until they were messing up my parlays again, I didn't know who they were. But the right way to tank in sports is to get assets in return from your other assets and be competitive in the game. So that way you're bringing life to your fans for the future, but it's just not like you suck bad. I mean, to be able to put up a fight against a team like the Nuggets, who are 2 years off of a championship, it's incredible. The Raptors have a very bright future.
Yeah, and you talk about the worst place to be. I think the worst place to be is when you're really, really bad, but you don't have your pick, because then it's a completely wasted season. And last year the pick was top 6 protected, if I'm not mistaken, so it did convey to the Spurs. But this year we have our pick back, and yeah, it's exciting times, because either way, we'll have a good season.
And it's a much better draft class too. So, Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, the Raptors can get one of those guys. They're scary.
And not to mention, our first round pick hasn't even played yet. He's been out. So when he comes back, it'll be exciting to see how he meshes with the team. Okay, we can move on to kind of the serious topic for today. I want to talk about morality in sports teams. We see some teams take flyers on players who others have kind of turned their eye on, and usually with good reason. There's 2 teams I want to focus on, one in soccer, one in basketball. For the basketball, there's the Clippers, right? Now, there's some extreme examples, and then there's some just not so extreme examples, but you understand why there was controversy. There's the whole Kai Jones situation last season. I don't know if you saw any of his Instagram lives. I don't know how else to say it, but other than he was tweaking out on his Instagram live.
The CTE allegations were...
There were allegations of CTE, allegations of drug use, saying he was under the influence. And yeah, so the Charlotte Hornets decided to wash their hands with him, and with good reason. It was not like he was some phenomenal player who was contributing to winning basketball. But the Clippers took a flyer on him, and he's been playing this season.
He's been playing actually pretty decent too.
He's been playing pretty, yeah. With James Harden, there's this video of James Harden and Kai Jones practicing by themselves. But sorry, we're not here to talk about the season or how they've been playing. We're here to talk about the morality of the sports teams. And so they signed Kai Jones. That's understandable. He had controversy. They took a flyer on him. They signed Josh Primo last season, if I'm not mistaken. And the whole Josh Primo situation was he was allegedly exposing himself to the team psychiatrist. And apparently that wasn't the first time it's happened, and not with the first person. So there were allegations on him. And obviously he was a talent, so the Clippers took a flyer on that talent as well. And then finally there was Kevin Porter Jr., who's probably the most serious of these allegations, because there were pictures released as well. What did you make about that signing and that situation?
Yeah, Kevin Porter, rightfully so. I mean, I'm not going to get into the legal aspect of it, but he was caught under fire with some domestic abuse allegations with his girlfriend. And like you said, the proof was there, which obviously does not help his reputation. But one thing I want to say about the Clippers and kind of what they've done with their roster construction this season, not just from a basketball standpoint, but from the morality standpoint, it's a testament to their culture. I think we often underestimate what culture means in sports. It means being able to see something bigger in players, and players being able to see something bigger than themselves. So the Clippers taking a chance on all these guys and kind of taking them under the wing and bringing them under a legitimate coaching staff and organization that knows how to run an organization and have some discipline. Tyronn Lue, Jeff Van Gundy, Lawrence Frank, all these guys, they're some of the best disciplined minds in basketball. So I think if what they've done this season is they've taken those guys under their wing and said, we're going to believe in you, not just on the court, but you're going to help contribute to a championship culture. And
I kind of disagree with you on the morality point. I feel like the Clippers, I don't think their culture has been a great one recently, honestly. With the whole, I don't know if you heard the Kawhi situation, where there was a Clippers member who released information about how Kawhi was given treatment that's damaging to his long-term health just to get him out on the floor. There are those allegations. It seems like the Clippers are willing to do anything to win, which in terms of winning culture, I guess I understand. But in terms of players' health and morality, anything to win includes signing Kevin Porter Jr., who reportedly punched a woman in the face and strangled her. The woman being currently Jaylen Brown's girlfriend, a WNBA player. I'm just not sure how to pronounce her name. Kaisri. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation, but that'll be an interesting interaction to see on the court, actually. Jaylen Brown and Kevin Porter Jr. I wonder if anything happens there. But, yeah, in terms of morality issue, it seems like they're doing anything they can to win, which includes signing Kevin Porter Jr., who was a 19-point per game scorer with the Rockets. And a 19-point per game scorer, he was pretty young at the time. He would have gone for more than the $2 million a year he is on now. So that's the whole mindset behind signing these damaged goods players, right? You get a good player for lower than market value. And we see that a lot with Marseille. Marseille, probably even more outstanding that they've signed these players. Not outstanding, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just surprising that they've signed these kind of players because...
It was like the all-prison team. I was reading through it and... Oh
yeah.
My goodness, yeah, you take this one.
Yeah, they've signed some... So again, there's tiers to the amount of players of villain, right? We have Neil Maupay, who's honestly just like... He's annoying to play against. That's his only crime. He's annoying to play against. He trolls people on Twitter. You don't like him if you're on the other team, but that's pretty much it. He's not harmful. Adrien Rabiot had some bust-ups with managers in the past. He refused to train. Seems like he's not a bad person, but just like a difficult player to deal with. And then there's Amin Harit, the Moroccan midfielder who was involved in some controversy after he was in a car crash. He hit a pedestrian who died on the spot, and apparently he tried to flee the scene after. Schalke sold him for just 5 million euros, and that was way under his market value because he was a talented up-and-coming prospect in the Bundesliga at the time. There's Elia Wahi, who the striker has had some weird past because age 15, this is all allegedly. Allegedly, he was expelled for the football academy because he lured 3 players with him to the bathroom and made them undress in front of him. And then age 19, he allegedly punched a woman in the face outside of a nightclub. And again, he's worth more than the 25 million that Marseille paid for him. And then finally, and probably the most high-profile case, there's Mason Greenwood. Greenwood, I don't want to get too much into the legal aspect of his case, but he was dropped at Manchester United. And then once his girlfriend and current partner dropped the charges against him, he was loaned out to Getafe, and then sold to Marseille over the summer for 25 million. And 25 million is nothing for Greenwood because just talent-wise, he was a 60 million euro player easily at Manchester United. But it's just the evidence against him, the photos that were released, the audio that was released. Everyone knows what he did, but there's no charges. So technically, he hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't been convicted. But it's just interesting to see that clubs are willing to take in players like this in hopes of getting a good deal. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth the backlash that you're going to get from the public in order to win a few more games. And it has been working for them. Greenwood has been amazing for them this season on paper, but what are your thoughts on that?
It's a very dense topic because I have an opinion where I think if you have the right stability within an organization, it is worth it, right? Talent-wise, sometimes teams are going to do what they can to win, like you said, the Clippers, but I also think that they have the legitimate pieces within the organization to be able to get them on the right track. Tyronn Lue was, when he was the coach of the Cavaliers, he was one of the only guys who had the balls to, step up to LeBron and help Kyrie with his character issues that he's had since his rookie year. So I think that they are on the right pace to get them on track. I mean, we haven't heard anything more from Kevin Porter's case or Kai Jones acting out too much. You see, like you said, James Harden, a veteran guy, taking him under his wing. But if you're only doing it for the winning and there is no legitimate building blocks within your organization to help that, it's certainly not worth it. But if you can win and you can get them on the right track, it is worth it. But I don't know enough about the Marseille situation because that just...
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying it can be used as a kind of like a rehabilitation for the players as well, to have a structure there for them to be on a better path, right? I see what you're getting at. Okay, well, just last thing for today, let's touch on what were your favorite games from the NBA week. We had a few games. What was your highlight?
I hate talking about the Lakers because, again, Celtics fan and all, but I want to say the Lakers-Suns game, actually yesterday's was really good, but it was the first game that they played. It was super close because the Lakers were down 20 at one point, and then they brought it back, and then it went to overtime. It was just that first sense of, oh my God, like JJ Redick is a legitimate coaching talent. He was able to scheme up in a close game against one of the best coaches in the NBA, Mike Budenholzer. Anthony Davis was stamping his early MVP agenda. LeBron had like 6 threes at one point. That game, I love those close overtime games. Even Kings Timberwolves was a really good match that I liked. But any of those really close games, I absolutely love. What about you?
Yeah, I think my favorite, honestly, the one that I watched was the Hawks-Hornets game. Basically,
It's underrated.
the duel of the point guards, Trae Young and LaMelo just trading blows. Trae Young had like 38, 8, and he had 8 rebounds, by the way. How are you letting a 5'11" guy get 8 rebounds? And he had his like double-digit assists. And then LaMelo on the other side was just letting it fly from anywhere. He was getting to the rim. And it was a really exciting thing. And I'm excited for both those teams. The Hawks did lose yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And the Hornets, they've been a bad team for a while. But if LaMelo can stay healthy, I think they can have a decent season.
The Hornets are definitely on the right track. They hired last year's Celtic assistant Charles Lee as their head coach. That's
Of
probably
course,
why
yeah.
they're doing so good. But the Hornets are on the right track. LaMelo is transcending to a level that we haven't seen him play at before. And he's staying healthy. That's the most important thing. And they have legitimate role player guys that can step up. Grant Williams, Trey Mann, Vlade Micic. They could be a sneaky play-in team if all goes well. I know we didn't touch upon it much, but that's my hot take for the Hornets.
I think you misspoke there. You said Trey Mann. I think you meant Allen Iverson. Because I've seen the way he's been playing, his swag, his braids, his baggy shorts. He just looks so cool out there. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch. But yeah, I think that's all for today. It was a good episode. We don't like the transit system here in Toronto. Hopefully, we can look forward to the games coming up. There's games tonight. I'm trying to figure out my fantasy team. And yeah, anything you're looking forward to in the week?
No, just more NBA action. You can't get enough of it. What are tonight's games?
I know the Mavericks are playing. The Nets are playing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll touch upon it next week for our
And Manchester United, new game under a new coach. That'll be fun. And then we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's more than just a game.